That's
Okay,
almost
so
scarier.
yes, as the little lady said, the meeting's being recorded. I already told Donna this, Jean, but you guys are probably going to be it today.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, a lot
The
of pressure.
no pressure, no pressure. The other, I'm going to take my recording sticker off. The other Donna is out for some medical stuff. Jean, the other Jean is still having some internet issues, so she's going to watch the recording as well. And Pam, I can't remember what she just told me why she wasn't going to be here. But anyway, Pam's not going to be here, other than, I will, but the other Pam. And I never heard back from Tammy. So about this class in particular, I know she has company and she had to cancel another workshop she signed up for of ours. But anyway, it's okay. It's kind of like you guys are going to have your own private session, which is nice. But like I said, no pressure whatsoever. Seriously, this is all about fun. You guys know that. So use Terry Lynn as much as you like today. You have your own private resource. And Terry Lynn and I both have things we have to rush off at noon today. So, and because it's only you two, we may end up even wrapping things up a few minutes early, if that's okay with you guys.
That would be great with me, actually.
Okay. Well, then maybe we'll plan to wrap up a few minutes early, as long as we're not, we don't want to cut the curriculum or anything like that. But if it works, we'll know that you're okay with that. Okay. Anything for me? I may even keep my screen on. So Terry and I were talking about sometimes as a teacher, it's nicer to actually have more faces so you really feel like you're teaching to more faces.
Like there's actually people here. This is nice.
Exactly. So I'll see how that goes if I have to run off and do stuff or whatever. But anyway, any questions for me though before Terry Lynn jumps in, either Donna or Jean? No. Okay. Thank you both so much for showing up today and and letting us start a few minutes late. So, okay, Terry Lynn, my friend, take it away.
All right. So last week we covered some basic lines and how to approach drawing from the very basis. We worked with the two-dimensional idea of taking circles and squares and triangles and such, and then putting them into some of our basic shapes. So we use it with a chair and that house and trying to work on that. So we're going to take the next step this class and move into creating three-dimensional illusions on the paper. I am looking at, I'm going to share screen. So this is the sheet I gave you before, and we were talking about varying your lines. So they're interesting, heavy and dark and jagged and wavy. We worked through the two-dimensional shapes, and now we're going into the three-dimensional shapes. So a circle, as I mentioned last week, if you take a circle and you look at it not just as the outline, but as it's coming toward you, as it's going around this way, like the hemisphere, and around, you basically get a bunch of circles this way, three-dimensionally, and it becomes a sphere. A square, as you put that into 3 dimension, becomes our cube. Oh, wait, let me back up a little bit. The circle also, if you stack a bunch of circles one on top of another, you create your cylinder. And I'm going to show you how to work these. Triangle becomes a cone if you spin it on its central axis here, so that as the base of this turns around, it becomes a circle in space. That makes sense. Like the edges of it go around, make a circle. And then if you lay it out otherwise, you can get the pyramidal shape. And out of these basic shapes, these 4 or 5 shapes, the pyramid isn't used quite as much, but you can create almost anything by combining them, as we did kind of with a chair, to create that illusion. So you don't have to think, oh, I'm drawing a chair or I'm drawing whatever, a house or something. You can draw your cube and then put in the details that make it look like a house. So that's kind of what we're going to work with today. We talked about varying lines here. So Let me see, those are some of our, did you receive these 2 PDFs, the one with the still life thing?
Yeah. Maybe
Okay.
go find my phone.
All right, and we'll use those the next couple weeks, so do hang on to those. I went to my daughter's yesterday to print them up and totally forgot to print them, so I think I have to share again to get the next, I'll wait for Donna to come back. Oh, here she comes.
Yeah.
Let me open these up and go this way. Nope, that's not the one. I'm sorry. Trying to find it. Preview. Here it is. Oh, it's opened up one of them separately. That's not great. What are we seeing? This is what you're seeing. There it is. All right, so this is kind of a cube. This cube is not great. So I just want to walk you through some of the shapes and the items, that the ways that you can utilize them and what you can do with them. Preview. There we go. So you can take a cube and you can put it in perspective. This is a cube you're looking down on, and I'm going to show you the tricks on how to, first we'll draw the cubes, we'll draw the 3-dimensional shapes, then we'll practice using them. So this one is just to kind of walk through an overview of your different shapes. So there's a cube, you're above it, you're looking down. When you're drawing in perspective, and Pam, that thing you sent them last week was not really perspective. That was proportions and relationships, is how things work with each other. And I'm going to show them that too. But this looked down, perspective. And your perspective, all the vanishing points here always go to the horizon line. This is your horizon line. Again, I'm giving you a basis of terms so we have a foundation that we can build on in the things we're talking about. So here's the horizon line, and if this object is below, as it has the illusion of going off in space, any parallel lines in reality will intersect on, or appear to intersect on, the horizon line. And the horizon line is wherever your eyesight is. So if you're looking at your table and you're up and you're looking down at it, you can see the table. Can you also see me off to the side, ladies?
Yes.
This one? Okay, good. You can see them kind of going, and they're going to converge off in the distance. And I'm looking down on it, so I have to kind of figure out how that angle is. But if I go down and I'm right at the edge of the table, I'm not going to see the perspective because my horizon line has dropped. And if I go under it, it's going to look different as well. For instance, if we were under this square and this were our horizon line, and we're looking up at a box that's above us, see how that would be different, because our eye creates that horizon line, and that's where that is. Does that make some sense?
Yes.
Good. So here's some different angles that you can see cubes at, and you have all these possibilities, but it's based on that single cube that we'll practice today. You can also tesseract it. You can break it apart and 3-dimensionalize it. And these are just a number of cubes put together. You draw one at a time and you come out with these complex 3-dimensional forms. The same thing kind of with our sphere. This is placing the sphere inside a cube. You can combine them. See how the VP is your vanishing point. Again, that is where parallel lines converge on the horizon. So when we start to draw the cube, we will make those lines go back to that horizon line that is your eye level. Here's this is a different sphere. This is not as complex as the other one, but you get the idea. You're going to be wanting to think through as we're drawing these 3-dimensional shapes, even if you don't see it. You're thinking through that this is three-dimensional, it's coming at me, it's going around away from me, there's all these aspects going on. This is a cylinder. Was nice to put it within a cube. This person was like, well, I can draw a cube easily. So they drew this elongated cube
Mhm.
and then put the circle in here, the circle in there, and
Wow.
then combined. So that creates a very nice cylinder in 3 dimensions.
Hmm.
This is putting it at one on another vanishing point line. See, you can get very complex, but it's still based on that very basic concept. Right, turning it into a log. That's all you do. You take a cylinder and you can turn it into a cut log. Here's our cone. Again, they put this in the reason they put it in the cube here and they divided the base of this cube, I can show you how to do that. It's because it's not a circle anymore. Where it's in perspective, the circle starts to take on the idea of an oval or an ellipse. And there's a little simple mathematical way of figuring that out. So make a note and I can have perspective. It helps you with perspective. These are just 2 cubes in a perspective here, the orange, but look how you can apply that to a full city.
Mm.
Cube after cube, you just put them together. It gives you that nice feeling that everything's going way, way back in the future, in the distance. Now, these basic shapes also can be combined to create images of almost anything, as I said. This is used in digital art. Digital art, they started, if you look back at the early Pixel videos and stuff, they look very, very simple to what they have today. They started with the basics and they built on top. So you can hear is like a cone almost. There's cubes in the boat here. And even they taught the computer to understand those basic shapes and how to make them 3-dimensional. These are flattened segments of cubes, make a spiral staircase.
Wow.
A lot of people get overwhelmed when they see it initially, but if you think of it as one section at a time, you can work these out. Bunch of cubes, a cube within a cube. Even paper sculptures, they're still working with those basic. Here's an elongated cube shape back here. Here's some cylinders, and here's some cones, some tall skinny cones and some flat cones. Put it together, it creates that illusion of an actual object. Even in architectural rendering, they will do a lot of the same. So you can see here, they have the choice. Look, there's a cube, there's a sphere, there's a cone. Do you want to use those? Do you put them in? Then they colorize the top of them. In figure painting or drawing, you can do the same. Here's a couple of cubes. You tilt the cubes at the angle you want. This person has lightly combined them with just some sort of guiding line for like the backbone, for the legs. They kind of drew in the feet. You can do it a little more complex. This is mostly with cylinders. Or this I think is very pretty clear how they did it. So they initially started with like a cube up around the chest area, but then slightly changed the shape of the lines. Another cube for the torso, for the hips, a cylinder here for the leg, you know, cylinders for the arm. Amazing, right? If you learn these simple shapes and you learn how to put them kind of at different angles in space, you can create anything. And that's all artists are, they start here. And this is where you're starting, and you can build up to those things. Any questions on that? That was just kind of a quick overview, but I'm going to share example for proportions and relationships. All right, I'm double checking my notes here while I'm. No questions. You guys are just, it must be either explaining clearly or you're
That's it.
adept. Is that what it is?
That's it.
You're quick at understanding. I love it.
Mary Lynn,
Well,
All
we
right.
haven't started drawing yet either, so.
Yeah, you're right.
I have to
Maybe-
say, I'm listening to you. I'm actually working on a paint schedule for the house. I'm writing things in, but I'm listening to you, and I heard that you're obviously you're absolutely right about the perspective. I used the term perspective, and I knew that wasn't the right term when Pam was asking me for some more information about it. I could not think proportion. I knew it started with a P. And it's not like it's rocket science, we know yes, of course that was proportion, not perspective.
Yeah,
So anyway, Pam, if you're watching this or when you're watching this, do know that I know that you were also talking about proportion and not perspective. But
Right.
what I sent her was proportion information, not perspective information. So that part was right. The word was wrong.
what do we, yes, yeah, and it was very clearly, that was nice, and I'm glad, I was like, wow, she went back to the original video and pulled that segment out
I
very
did.
well. You did a good job.
And I had to work on that. Editing a YouTube video, once you know how to do it, it's easy, but learning how to do it, but I didn't want her to have to watch the whole thing. So,
Did you
anyway,
save it? On your computer?
yes,
Yeah.
I had saved it on my computer and I had not uploaded that one because I wasn't uploading to YouTube yet. That I was just downloading it from Zoom at that point. But now you guys have them from YouTube so that you can they don't go away in 48 hours. You can have them for as long as
Right.
you need them. So okay.
That's what I do. I upload my videos to YouTube because then they're accessible. If you get the Zoom thing, like I record to my computer, Zoom, it'll disappear in a certain amount of time. So
Exactly. Okay, I'm sorry. I digress.
Yep.
This is why you want me in the background, ladies, so that I don't pop in there. Okay,
interjections.
I'm going away again. Bye.
So we'll get to combining, like as Pam had shown in that email, that little segment I had done. What it was speaking to is how you figure out what size and what relationship. So the proportions, the size of each object and how that relates to the size and the placement of other objects in space. I'm going to share a screen real quick and then we will get drawing. So like this, right? How are we going to get to this? All right, we know there's a kind of a cube, a sphere, and a cone. But in my classes, normally this would be set up. And I use white objects so they're not distracted by other items. But I've got a step-by-step process over here as to where do you start with this? How do you find out how big this cube is compared to this sphere? So we'll work on that later today after we practice drawing our basic shapes. So now Pam is off. I am going to, she did it for me. Look at that. She knows where I'm going.
I'm
right.
still here. I just am only partially here.
You do what you need to. You're a multitasker. I appreciate it. All right. So we're starting, and I'm sorry the angle of this is not good. I mean, you get to see all the chords on the floor, but so we're going to draw a sphere, right? We had a circle before, and we said that the circle is not, there's actually no line there. If you have a ball or an apple or something, there's no actual line. That's an illusion of an outline. But we kind of start there and we're thinking of how this is going around. And remember how I said I go lightly and I go around and around until I feel it's pretty good, pretty well rendered. Now we're going to start to think that it doesn't only go this way. What if we're like an atom or something, and and all those little, what goes around and around? Not the neutrons on the inside, the protons and the electrons, right? How they go around the outside. Yeah. So we're following this thing in its path. And here, say, it starts coming out toward us and then disappearing behind. So as I'm coming toward me, I'm thinking it's going to be a little heavier. I add a little more pressure on that line, and I can come around this way, a little more pressure as it's coming toward me. I have to work around my phone, which is not working very well. So you can almost see that this starts to take on that three-dimensional feeling. Now, it doesn't really look like a perfect sphere, but what this will eventually help us with is how to shade a sphere to make it look more real. How, this thinking will help guide us in the shading of it to make it look more real. So if you want to try that, just have it on your book. That's pretty simple, right? Any quick questions on that, or is that pretty self-explanatory? Just play around with it. The thing you're trying to get your mind is to thinking how, again, it's going around, it's coming toward me here, it's going away from me over there. It's more what's happening in our brain as we practice this. Can I continue on?
Yes.
All right. So a cylinder, all right, say we have a cylinder, right? And we want to draw this. So we know that the base of the cylinder is a circle.
Mhm.
And then if it were perfect, the other end would be a circle as well. We're going to take this circle. This is going to get in my way. I'll do it large here. Okay. I'm trying to think how to do this. Here's my circle. If I set it in a bit of a cube, and I'm sorry, my stand is in the way right there. And it's tangent to the sides of that cube. You know what I mean? It just kisses the edge there. Isn't it amazing how math and drawing come together? And then I can dissect it. So I'm going corner to corner. And then I would find the middle line. I'm just going to eyeball it. And the middle line there. So we put our circle in a dissected square. Because we know the cylinder again is a bunch of circles, circle, 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 just built one on top of the other. And what this is going to do is help us put it into perspective. I'm just thinking in my head. Sorry, I'm thinking. Okay. So for instance, if we have, say, here's our, we're going to do two things. We're going to draw a line at the base. And up toward the middle of that, we're going to put a dot. I need to draw this. Can you see my lines okay? I'm sorry if they're not dark enough.
Yes.
Mary Lynn, I'm going to run outside for just a moment. I'll
Yep.
be right back if you need
Thank
to
you.
change cameras or something.
Thank you. All right, then we're going to connect the corners of this line, the ends, slightly with that, which is now our vanishing point. We are creating the illusion of a vanishing point. Gosh, my tripod's in the way. All right, I need a straight edge because this is not going to come out straight if I try to get around this tripod.
Mhm.
Okay. So now we're putting a circle in a bit of perspective. I'm just going to draw a random line part way up like that. So now, if you can see, I have a square that's going into perspective. See how these two lines are parallel, right? So they're clear. These in reality are these two sidelines that are actually parallel, but we're creating the illusion of them going back in space, in perspective. So we're taking these two sidelines and we're putting them here. Now we proceed by dissecting this square as we did this one. So we go corner to corner. I'm gonna cheat and use a straight edge.
Mhm.
And I'm doing this lightly because I am going to draw over it. Now, if you notice, if you actually measured this, and I do have a ruler on here, in this square, the middle of the circle is it's equidistant from all the sides, right? The center of that circle. This center is no longer in the middle of this square. You can't measure 1 inch this way and 1 inch that way, because by putting it in perspective, it has changed the dimensions. So, well, I didn't make it actually 2 inches, but you can see it's not quite in the middle. So then we already have that central line. That's definitely in the middle. And this one, we're going to make parallel. This line is parallel to this line. So we're going to make it parallel to these as well. What I'm doing is I'm taking that center dot and finding it. But you can see the distance here is greater than the distance there. So I've just shown you two things, actually. I mean, I'm showing you two things, how to put a square in perspective, 1 point perspective, and then how to put a circle in it. Then remember how they were just tangential, these curves just kissed those intersection points there. So we're going to kind of do that. You just want a nice soft curve here between the middle of this and the middle of that. Same here. And this is not exact, but it's going to give you a very nice rough idea of a circle in 3 dimensions. See how I'm turning my hand too to try to get that nice natural curve at the fulcrum of my wrist. That is not very, you can see it's not very smooth. Again, my tripod keeps getting in the way, but I think you get the idea, and you can practice this until it comes a little more natural. Did yours come out pretty well?
Not too bad.
First
Looks
time.
looks more like a lemon, but I guess.
Yeah, mine does too. And so then I would go like, okay, I need to make a few adjustments. And that's why with a pencil, you can do that. You can grab your eraser and smooth it a little more. But you can see it is sort of an ellipse now.
Mhm.
So I can take that idea of that ellipse, because the base of my cylinder is now in space. And I can kind of put 2 of them, one over the other. Connect it, and I have a cylinder. I was talking to Pam, I'm going to need another tripod for holding my phone. This one just, it gets in the way. It doesn't give you the best angle. But anyway, I didn't realize how much it was going to get in my way. So, right, there's a nice little cylinder in space.
Mhm.
There's another whole aspect. If it's like and I don't want to delve into this, but I want to just introduce it to you. If it were, say, something like a lighthouse, of course, and you're standing here, so the horizon line is where your eye is, right? That's your horizon line, H. A lighthouse, as you're standing, you're not at the base of it. I mean, if you look at this cylinder, and I look at it right at my eyesight level, it's just a straight line. But if I look at it below me, it's that ellipse. If I look at it above me, it's a different ellipse going in the other way. So for instance, you would start here, by here, by here. The lines, what I'm doing right now is I'm drawing lines, like these lines around this cylinder, but I'm looking at it, whoops, I'm sorry. But I'm looking at it this way and this way.
Wow.
So then it starts kind of going up the other way. So as you get the lighthouse going, the base of it, or any cup that's sitting on a table or something, it does not sit on the table like this. It's not flat. It's an illusion. You can see it right here. See, that's curved. That's a curved line. It's not a flat line. A lot of people would draw a picture of a cup or something and put it flat on the table. It always has that curve. And as it comes up around, it's like one of those lighthouses that has the stripes around it. As it comes up, that curve gets less and less until it's straight across at your eye level. Then as you start looking up, the other curve comes toward you, and it gets greater the further it gets away from you. So see how that curve comes down here and then up here. gets up even higher. It exaggerates. There's our little lighthouse.
Wow.
Now, again, if you're drawing a cup on a table, it's going to look like this, right? Because you're looking down on both parts of it. You're right, you're looking down into the cup. I don't know if I can do it with this, but it's rounded here and it's rounded here. All right. Sphere and cylinder. Ready for the cube? Oh, wait, we need, let's do the cone. Actually, I can do a cone right on this. No, I don't want to do that. That might confuse us. So let's do a cone because that's closer to the using the circle. So we already know, as we have done this exercise, and I'm just going to use that. I've kind of done it again. But you could do, you could do the square and do the whole thing and to lay this in. And then for a cone, we'll find just a central spot up here. And these are pretty easy. Another straight edge because my tripod's in the way. And there we have, excuse me, I'm going to turn this around so I can get that curve nicely. So there's a cone. All right, keep moving. Yes, you good? All right. Square, we all remember how to do, we'll start a square. Now, to make this into a cube, remember those tricks we used to do in school as kids? You can draw another square just like it behind it. And then connect the corners. Ta-da! Cube. Let me do it again. You guys get that?
Got it, but I guess if you wanted it to be terribly accurate, you would measure the length.
You could, yes.
Yeah, but
Good point, Jean. Another thing is, what if our cubed shape, I mean, very rarely is it a perfect cube. What if we were going to draw a book lying on a table? Well, it's going to have a longer side here, right?
Mhm.
And then we could kind of draw it off in the distance over here, kind of the same thing duplicated. Then connect those corners again. And before you know it, you have a book. So you can take the basic cube and you can stretch it or elongate it or something. The same with the sphere. If you were talking about a lemon or something, if you have a sphere and you want it to be more of a lemon shape or an egg shape, you just flatten it. You just take your sphere and just kind of squish it down. And then you can end up with a nice, maybe egg shape. I'm outlining these heavily so you can kind of see the shape. Again, I would vary my line. I would have it lighter up here, darker here, wherever I needed it to make it interesting. But we can take these basic shapes and utilize them and move them around. And we can also combine them, which I'll show you. So there's our cube. Next item is, if this cube is in space, for instance, as we just did, the cylinder and stuff in space, let's try that. We're going to start, let's say, with the front of the cube. This line here is the base line of the cube. I've just done this line. Ta-da! And I'm going to make this a little shorter because I'm running out of paper here. Oh, good. Just broke my pencil. Right, so this is the front side of my cube. That's this front side. I'm going to find a middle point. I'm going to find a horizon vanishing point out here. And now, in reality, these two sides of these cubes are parallel in reality. But because they're going back in space,
Mm.
they need to go back to that same vanishing point. It's an illusion. It's like railroad tracks. If you're standing over railroad tracks and you're standing, the first railroad track is here, they get smaller and smaller as they go back to disappear in the distance. Is that clear?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, so we're going to kind of do the same thing with the cube. It's a little different than approaching this one, but we will draw the back side of that cube. So parallel, 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 front, top of the front, and this is the back, the top of the back. And it's parallel to these lines. When you're drawing these things, your vertical lines almost always, if it's vertical, it is vertical. You don't want it tilting like this. As it goes back in the distance here, it's different. Now, these two lines that go back and connect these corners, you can see because we've already established where the vanishing point is. Any lines that are these guys are that are going back in the distance, they're parallel to each other. Take on the illusion of getting smaller as it goes back. That illusion makes sense? Jean's nodding.
Yeah.
John, you good? Okay.
Mhm.
And if you wanted to draw the inside, if it were a clear cube, I'm going to grab my straight edge again, just because it makes it clearer. I usually, as you practice, you can do a lot of this freehand. And then I need the back side. Here, I'm taking this distance and I'm going to do the same kind of distance there for that inside back, which is not quite right. I can see it already. So this goes back. It should attach to that back side. Oh, that was, oh, I made a mistake. It's not right there because it looks different. Apologies. So you have the inside face, the perpendicular lines coming down in the back. Normally I have my work on an easel, so it's, if you lay it down on the table, you're going to get a bit of a distortion. Not perfect, but there's kind of looking at it on the inside.
So you would do the the second well, the bottom sides, you would do those first, and then to determine where the vertical line goes.
Oh, when I did, let's see, this,
Well, I was thinking of the lower one. Yeah. So after you, yeah.
so you do that front one first, right? So you start,
Mhm.
sorry, this is going to be really quick with the
Mhm.
just this rectangle,
Mhm.
whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I find the vanishing point,
Mm-hmm.
and then for the inside underneath, this is all crookedy, sorry.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's okay.
Yep. And then if I had the floor of the inside, the top of the inside of the back there. This, yeah, those back. That's kind of the process I do it in.
Okay.
Did that answer your question, Jean? I'm sorry. I don't know if it
Well,
did.
I need to be able to draw on your you point on your drawing and show you. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I think let me play with it a little bit.
Well, if you have a question, I'm sure others.
I don't know how to ask the question.
Mm.
Are you talking about these back vertical lines?
Well, yes, I'm talking about that. It seems like you do those back vertical lines first to see where that back horizontal line is going to go,
For this one, yes, you're right, because,
to see where it meets the vanishing point lines.
yeah, so you do these, oh gosh, I'm so sorry. I don't like that short one. It's getting in my way. So this, then back to the vanishing point. Whoops. And then you're saying you need to establish one of these lines. Say we would establish the inside one, then we can bring that up, those verticals up to intersect there to find out where that one is.
Yes, yes. I was doing it in reverse, but yes, it's the same thing. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, I got it. Thanks.
just made me think of something else too. Oh. Yes, so that's a 1 point perspective. If you have also a square, just wanting to say here, and say it's offset a little bit this way, say the vanishing point is a little bit off this way, it can still work. Right? So we have that inside line that's crooked on me. That'll give us here, Jean, this is what you, then that tells you where that vertical line is.
Yes.
Tells you
Yes.
where this vertical line is. That will
Yes.
give you the top of that back side.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
here you have a Q, but it's offset a little bit, which is more
Mhm.
normal than what we see. We don't always see the
Mhm.
perfectly straight back. I mean, sometimes it's off to the side. Like when we do the houses and stuff later on, we'll see that. We use that a lot.
Okay.
Let me introduce one more thing at this point, just to, are we absorbing pretty well, practicing?
Yeah, practicing.
Okay. That is good. I think I closed that other file. I'm just looking for that. Okay, here it is. Oh, goodness. Everything opens up. Now find you. Nope, that's not you. That's. I was telling Pam, sometimes I have so many windows open, it gets tricky to figure out which one. All right. This is 2-point perspective, and this is the most common that we have. This is taking a cube and putting it on, in the perspective with your horizon line here. But this is the most common. This is like looking down on something on a table. So I'm going to show you this one because we're getting that step there. The one we just did is very similar to that. So say our horizon line is here. And you have a cube that starts here. What I'm going to draw now is the closest line to me, the corner. If you take a cube, this is funny. This is where it gets to be like in class, I have these objects. I'm taking a cube this way. Is this the best way? Doesn't look very clear. There's my cube straight on, pretty much.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn it. Oh, that's like that. I'm going to start with this corner. This is the closest thing to me, right?
Yeah.
And here's a square over here, and here's a square over here. But they're going back in perspective. You can see that right there. Look how, if this is perpendicular to my line of sight, look at the angles that is going off at. And here it's a little different. So you can actually see the angles. It's going back in perspective. It's not flat to this. So we're going to create this illusion first. All right, we're looking down on the cube. We're going to start with this edge here, and we're going to build from there. Yes, clear?
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah, did you draw that right in the middle of your horizon line or to the side?
I haven't, it's below.
Yeah, but, okay, so it's not right in the middle of it.
No, in the middle of it would
Okay.
be like this.
Okay,
We'll do that next. What we're going to
Okay.
start is one of the most common ways is this.
okay,
So you can see, let me see if I can place it on there. The horizon line is above.
right, yeah,
Okay, so we're going to put the horizon line above. So the horizon line's above. Here's that nearest corner.
Hmm.
Then here's our line. This is what's perpendicular to our line of sight. We are looking in this direction, directly at that corner.
okay,
So here's an imaginary line that is perpendicular to the way we are looking at this object. This is our viewpoint coming in here. Now we estimate, let's see if I can do this again. This is so much easier when I've got it set up in a classroom.
yeah,
Now we're going to estimate, we're going to start with the base, move it up. And we're going to estimate this angle right here.
Hmm.
And then we're going to estimate the angle on the other side. So we're looking at, we're going like, oh, okay, that's maybe, it's not quite a 45-degree angle. It's less than a 45-degree angle. Do you see what I'm saying? Between the edge of our box, that imaginary perpendicular line, we're going to estimate this angle here.
okay,
And that's the base of that box. And then we can do the same thing this way. But let's pretend this one's a little more dramatic. This one is a 45-degree angle, so that one's going back off that way.
Okay.
Good. If you want, you can use, this is going to go off the paper though. So if we extended those lines in space imaginarily, eventually they would intersect the horizon. So the vanishing point for this one is over here. The vanishing point for this one is here.
right,
Now, any line, I'm just going to draw a simple box here. Any line that is perpendicular to that line will, any line parallel to that line will converge on the same vanishing point. So we have, say we have this line, right? This line and this line and this line are parallel to each other in reality, yes?
Yes.
Mhm.
As well as this little one back here, but we're not going to probably see that. So this line is this is the corner we're starting with. This line is here. We've determined that basically at the base perpendicular, we've decided on that angle going back. That has given us the intersection point of our vanishing point, our VP vanishing point on the horizon. Now, to find this other line, that needs to intersect with that same vanishing point because this line and this line are parallel to each other. They need to intersect at the same vanishing point. We take from the top of this corner here, which is now here, and it goes back to that vanishing point.
Got it.
This is a step-by-step kind of thing.
That's good.
Is that good?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Same on this side. Now we're going to do this side and this side. So they're parallel in reality. They need to go to the same vanishing point, which is a little further off my paper here. So I'm going to estimate that. And again, when you're drawing, you can kind of estimate this stuff. It doesn't have to be perfect every time. But this will help your understanding of how a cube fits in space, in perspective. Now comes the fun part. Where do we go from here? Don't get discouraged at this, okay? This takes some practice. So you can review this as well. Here's our number one line. We are going to use this as our unit of measure, because we're kind of estimating here.
The number one line. Yeah, okay.
Yep, number one line, that's our unit of measure. Let's compare, in reality, the length of this line is the same as the height of the box, right? But now we're going back in perspective. And as we saw in this, it changes, right? By going back in perspective, it changes the way it looks slightly. So this is not going to be the same length as this. So you can't just measure it. But I want to simplify it. I don't want to make it too complex for you. So it is going to be a little bit, it's not quite as long as that. So this side, that's about the same. Is that about the same? Let's just check. It's about an inch, right? And that's about an inch. So I know it's not going to be an inch. It's going to be a little bit less. Again, I'm kind of eyeballing. What I'm looking at is the length of this now. So if I kind of eyeball it and I brought this down, I can see that it's a little bit less, because I'm looking at the box and I'm seeing it's a little less. Jean's thinking. I can see that. Think. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
My goodness. So I've got the angle of this, but it's not, because this is going back in space, even if it were the same length of this in reality, it's not going to look that way, because this is my picture plane is going across here. If I had a piece of glass across the front, this doesn't touch it. It goes back in space a little bit. So I'm kind of eyeballing the relationship of this unit of measure to the length of that. And it's less. So I find that less spot and I draw a vertical line. That has to be vertical. It's okay.
Yes.
And then the kind of the same thing on this side. Now I'm seeing more of this side, but it's still not going to be quite as long as that. It's going to be a little bit less, but longer than that. So it's going to be less than this, but a little bit longer than this, because I'm seeing more. And this has to be vertical. Vertical has to, how do you spell vertical? Oh my gosh.
VERTICAL. VERT.
I just got a brain glitch.
One too many I's in there, but that's okay.
No, that's what it is. That's what threw me off.
There you go.
You get teaching and talking and drawing and thinking and
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay, Terry.
Thank you. So the vertical has to stay vertical. That's important. You do not want a box that comes out looking like this. Right? You don't want that.
That's a
So
10.
Yeah, right. Keep it the vertical's vertical. Now we've got some, that's going to help us a lot. That's kind of that eyeballing of those lengths. You eyeball the angle and you kind of eyeball the lengths of those sides. Then, now we have done this line over here. This line is this one. This one is this one. Right? So we've done that. Now we're going to do that one. It's parallel to the others and it has to go to the same vanishing point. That one comes from this corner over there. So we're going to crisscross now. Not the Hitchcock kind of crisscross, but our kind of crisscross. You guys know about crisscross?
No,
I don't know that one.
Strangers on a Train by Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah.
This guy comes up with the idea, you do my murder, I'll do your murder.
Hmm.
So do you see what that has given us, this back line? Let me go back to my box. We did this line to that vanishing point, this line to that vanishing point. Now we have established this back corner, so we know where this line starts, and that goes back to those same vanishing points. So we have this one, this one, this one, all going back to the same vanishing point. Our next step will be to take the other side and do the same thing. We have established this line. We have now established this line. And now we are going to create this line, because in reality, they're parallel to each other. So we're going to start at that back corner, and we're going to go to that vanishing point of the same ones that are parallel to it. Ta-da! Now we have our nice little cube. Oh, I didn't do, did I draw it? I didn't draw it. My bad. I'm sorry. I didn't draw it all the way. There. You can tell I taught high school for years, saying my bad instead of, oops, my mistake.
Everyone doing okay? I'm so sorry. I've been running around getting rid of things, dead mice and things.
Ew.
I know, it was gross. It was gross. Anyway, are you having fun?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Mary Lynn, are you having fun?
I'm having fun. They're learning a lot. This is one of the things that really frustrates people. And I don't want you to get really hung up and be super, super perfect, but it gives you that understanding of perspective. And that's going to help.
Mhm.
Now, if you had a transparent cube, we know from this back corner that that's going to be vertical. So bring that down. So I have a nice vertical back corner there. Again, the line that's going this way is parallel to those, so it's going to go to the same vanishing point out there. So I'm just going to kind of draw that through. And from this corner, am I going too fast?
yes.
A little bit,
Hang
yeah.
on.
Okay. So do you have that back corner, see through that corner?
Kind of, yeah. Yeah.
The vertical one there. So from this corner, this back line is going to be parallel to this one. So it has to go from this back corner to that same vanishing point over there. That gives us this line, that line right there. And see how it intersects with that vertical back corner. And then from this corner, because it's going to be that line, it's parallel to this and this and this and this. But look, even see how the angle of that is different. It changes. So that one's going to be a little different, but we know where the front corner is and we know where that vanishing point is. And hopefully these will pretty much intersect back here.
Oops. Okay.
Yeah.
Ah. There, Pam, that's a section that you can crop out of the video and use, like how to draw perspectives.
Okay. Well, actually, what Pam had really asked for was not so much perspective at this point, because you hadn't really started on that. It was more proportion.
And that's my next step.
Okay, so,
We need to do a little understanding of perspective in order to get the proportions.
all right, Pam, so pay attention now. If you weren't paying attention before.
Right. I wanted to look for. No, I guess I closed those things. All right, so we've done sphere, cube, cone, and cylinder. Pyramid's another thing, but I'm not too worried about pyramid. Pyramid would just be taking, for instance, a what's a good idea? Like a cube in space. I'll just do this quickly. A top central point and then connecting all of those corners to that top of that pyramid creates a pyramid. So that one's pretty simple. I did a cone, I did a cylinder. Yep. I just want to keep checking that I've done the ones I said I would do.
I need a
There's
little bath.
lopsided.
I need a little bathroom break. I'll be right back.
Sounds good. All right. I will basically wait for you, Jane, too, to come back, because this is a good time to take a breather kind of and
Yeah, I'm
absorb.
gonna go
a
check
lot.
on my rug cleaners.
All right.
There's so much.
Well, I'll take a bathroom break then too. Can you put us on pause, Pam, for a sec?
I can. All right, just
Yeah.
remind me to restart again. Okay, good. So you
All
are
right.
resumed.
Thank you. Is there a way to hold up what you've done, ladies? Or something you're feeling good about to see how these are working? Can we spotlight Pam? Pam's gonna
just ready to
spotlight.
Hold
upload
on,
it.
I'm back.
I was just
Who's holding up?
ready to upload
Donna's
it to
up.
Padlet.
There you go. I see. Okay. There's
Oh,
Donna's.
yep, good.
Is
Nice.
that right?
Yeah, that looks
Are all
great.
the lines going the right way? Okay.
They are going the right way.
Okay.
Yay.
More importantly, Donna, do you know why they're right?
Yeah, kinda. Yeah,
On the
I
video.
do. Going from corner to corner. I got it.
Okay, I just want to make sure you knew what, because just following the rules doesn't mean you got it.
Right.
Okay, Jean,
Jean, you good too? Or you said you couldn't hold it up?
Yeah, yes,
Oh.
I can. I was just getting ready to upload it to Padlet.
beautiful.
Oh, look at hers.
Look
Wow.
at that, looks really, and she's numbered it to help her. That's a good
That's
idea.
beautiful.
Need a little, so I
Yeah,
can remember
good.
what I said.
Well done. One thing that a lot of beginners do, if we can look at this really quickly, is if you say start, Pam's pushing there as she goes. Okay, so I'm kind of overlapping here, but here's that beginning corner, and they get the perspective off that way just fine, off to those far corners to find this side. But then for some reason, again, remember, vertical has to be vertical. They forget that this back corner is parallel to this, and this one will end up over here somewhere. And this one will end up, who knows, over here somewhere. So then they get a box that looks like this.
Yeah.
Do you see that? By not making sure that those top edges as well go to the same vanishing points, you're going to get a wonky cube. You ladies have done wonderfully. Those look great. All right. Now we're going to practice. I'm going to use this photo that I sent you. This would be my still life setup. And I'm going to, Pam, I'm going to go back to share screen. Well, I can do that without you switching that, right? And I'm going to walk through it before we practice it.
Yeah, so I have to have you spotlighted for your share screen to
Yeah.
show up. So if I get distracted when you're ready to go back, you just holler at me. I'm right here.
I will, thank you. So let's consider that we're doing this. I did this in 2-dimensional last week, but I've taken a different angle. So now we have a 3-dimensional look of this still life. How do we find the relationships of each object to the others and put them in some perspective. We can see that the cube especially is in some perspective. So, and I'm going to make this into a little, I don't know if I'll make it a video clip or slideshow or something. My computer was giving me a little bit of problems this morning. But so here's the step-by-step. As we did with the cube, we're going to find a unit of measure. So to me, the easiest one is that closest corner of a cube. If you have something else that's closer to you, say you have a cherry down here or something, sometimes that the height of that can become your unit of measure. But you can choose a unit of measure.
Terry
In
Lynn,
this example, yes, Jean.
are we drawing along as you
No.
talk now? Oh,
No.
just listening for a moment.
This one, I'm gonna walk through it.
Okay.
And then we'll go
Okay.
back and we'll practice it.
All
So
right,
you
thanks.
find your unit of measure. This is kind of how you're doing the 1, 2, 3, Jean. This is, I did this kind of with colors. So my red is my unit of measure. Now I can take that 1 unit of measure and say, how tall, how many units tall is the complete composition from the bottom corner of this cube to the top of this cylinder. So I kind of measure it
Cool.
up. And eventually you kind of do this in your head, but you can also do it lightly on the paper. So 1,
Okay.
2, so it's 4 units high. And then I go this way and it's 4 units wide. Interesting, it's in a square. Then with that, you can kind of figure out how high is this sphere. It's about 3 units high. And you can see that the cone is all 4 units high. That the edge of this sphere is there and the far edge of this cube is there. So see, already we're taking this corner, which is our unit of measure, and comparing everything else to it. That is going to help our painting or drawing look realistic and be accurate. At first, this will take some time to practice, but eventually the more and more you do it, the more it becomes innate. Well, not innate, it's more practiced. Don't we wish it were innate? That would be nice. All right, so my next step is, again, on the cube, finding that angle. Here is my line of sight is coming in the same direction that that red line is. And here's the line, that imaginary line that's perpendicular to my line of sight, right, at 90 degrees. Now I estimate the angle here as to which that's going off at. And I estimate the angle here, this looks about 45 degrees, heading off that way. And that, of course, as we that will go way, way off now, our paper's smaller, so to our horizon line and our vanishing point. We can see that our horizon line is higher than this still life because we can see top of that cone. So we know that it's off our paper. But estimate that angle there and estimate that angle there. Now we know that these purple lines are parallel to each other and need to all intersect at the same vanishing point. In this case, rather than the one we just did, our vanishing point is so far off the paper, we have to estimate it.
Okay.
We know at the very least they are parallel, but they are also slightly converging. You can almost see how they're kind of converging off in the distance. It's subtle, but it's there. Again, because you don't want that back upright thing that I just showed you on the cube. Remember that wonky cube? You don't want that. So basically make them parallel, but also slightly converging. And the same as this one to this one and this one. They are all heading off to that same vanishing point way off over there somewhere, slightly converging. So you don't get the wonk. And then I just added in that. And we remember how when we did the cube, how we added, did I skip that? Oh. And then we can do the vertical. Remember how we estimated, here's our unit of measure. How far, how many of those out is that? Well, we know it's almost 2 for that corner. How far is that? It's not quite 1 out for this corner. Remember how we estimated the length of those sides? Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jean, for nodding. I appreciate that. And then we do those vertical lengths. So now we have our cube. I mean, there it is.
Wait, I've done something wrong. Oh, no, I forgot a line. Okay,
She's drawing along with us. Okay.
yeah.
Now, I thought I had this more. Sorry, let me check something. Okay. My next step is to find out how it is in relationship to the objects around it. I have drawn the object that is closest to me. It's kind of the best thing to do. Whoops, I skipped. Where is my? No, see, my program gave me a trick this morning. Not happy with this. Sorry.
Okay.
I was so careful with this. It shows better on my iPad, but I didn't get, the photos didn't transfer. That was where I was having the problem, getting my photos onto my laptop. This is our finished project. So what I did next, and I'll show you more on my iPad, is where the cone touches the back, the cube. So I put a little dot there and I saw that it touched. So I'm just kind of eyeballing the measurement of where that side of that cone touches the cube, where this side of the cone touches the cube, where the sphere touches the cube, and where the sphere down here touches the cube.
Mm.
So now that has given me where those sides are.
Mm.
I know that the cone goes up to the height of that. So I might draw, it's interesting, this cone is not nice. See how it's not perfectly symmetrical? It's a little wonky.
It is
there.
not, yeah.
Yeah. So I know I can draw a little ellipse up at the top and then connect where it touches the cube to that ellipse, right? I can get a rough
Mm.
idea of the size of that cone because we've already measured where is it in relationship to the cube and how high is it. The same with the sphere. We have the height of it. We had pre-measured that. And we know now where it comes through the cube and we can draw at this point that circle at this point. But remember I was talking about as we think around, like as that sphere comes around and comes toward us and goes around, you can see how the shadow and the shading on this kind of follows that curve. So that's why helping to understand how it comes out at us and goes around different directions will help us eventually with the shading. But no shading today. Then we can also estimate where the back of the table touches the sphere, and that's a horizontal line, and where it touches the cube, kind of estimate out, estimate down. Then we can, that sits it down on a table. And I will figure out how to get the better step-by-steps onto my laptop so I can put them in a nice something, a sequence. All right.
I'm gonna go pay my guys real quick.
All right.
Be right back.
I would wait. I will set up. Is this not?
Okay, do you want me to pause the recording or
Sure, for a sec. That would be fine. Thank you.
I'm pausing again?
Back, sorry.
Okay, so I
Okay.
started it and Terry Lynn, am I focused on the right thing?
On my pad, yes, yes.
Yes, okay.
So, right, let me just, don't change anything, Pam. So this is the picture I sent you that we'll be working on, this one. But I've also sent you others so that you can practice, and
Yeah.
they're very simple still lifes. And I'll do a quick, maybe something on these. I also sent you the houses, but I don't think we'll get through those until next week. Okay. But I've tried to give you a number of items. So, and then you can just go around the house. The trick is going around the house. Things are in color and they can get distracting. A lot of vases and cups and things have decoration on them. Ignore the decoration. Right now, we are looking for form. We're just looking for the basic form. So that's what you can use right there. Okay. So again, as we follow the instructions, we are going to look, we're going to draw this still life, right? So I'm going to start in the middle. I'm thinking, I'm going to start with that unit of measure. If you we realized when we did the measurement before, that it was pretty much right in the middle. So let's start with that. We start in the middle. I'm not going to go too big. With our unit of measure, which is the corner of that cube that's closest to us. 1. I'm going to do basically the same distance. 1, 2 out this way. 1, 2 out this way. So I have the width of my composition. I need some water. I will do the same thing with the height. 1, 2, 3, 4. That doesn't look at that. When I'm looking at it, it doesn't look the same, but if I do a quick, like I click my fingers like that and I don't move my fingers and I turn my hand up there, it is.
Wow, yeah.
See, it looks taller than it is wide, but I've just measured it. It's the same. So that's that step. Our next step, which we're just thinking, you can either draw the 3 up for that sphere, or we already have that height. So I'm just going to do a quick line across. That's going to be the height of where the ball is. The top of the ball. What I've determined right now is just a line across here where the top of that ball is. So I'm setting this whole thing up. Now we're going to start with the cube. We estimate the angles from, here's that imaginary line that is perpendicular to our view. We're looking at it this way, and that is perpendicular to that. And we're going to estimate, this might be what, 30 degrees off that way. And our next line was this one, and that's about 45 degrees off. So I kind of find that 45-degree angle here, and that's going to head off that way. My vanishing point here is now, my goodness, it's about 15 inches off to my right over that way. So I can't get that on the paper, but I can estimate this next line, right? We talked about estimating them. We know that it is at least parallel to this baseline and somewhat converging. So here's parallel, and I'm just going to bring it down a hint, just a little hint that way. Of course, I don't know where that back line is yet, so I'm coming back to that. And then we're going to do the same off with this line. And that's off the paper that way. And I know that that's parallel, at least slightly converging. Now this is the same approach we just did with the cube. I'm going to compare. Here's my unit of measure. How long does, from this corner to this corner, how far out is that? It's not quite, there's one unit of measure, and we can see if we bring that down, it's not quite one unit of measure. Right? So we had measured, there's our unit. Here's the distance this way. And if we look at the object, we can see that it's about 2/3 of the way out on that line.
Mm.
You seeing that?
Mhm.
So there's our unit measured. We already had that. We're going to go about 2/3. Boom, there it is, nice and vertical, 2/3 of the way out.
So I have a question.
Yes.
The top left line of the cube,
This one.
that's a little greater angle down than the other side. Because the vanishing point's a little nearer
Yes.
on that left side. Okay.
And how did we determine that? By finding these angles, this angle right here. We decided
Yes.
this one looked like, here's your 90-degree angle here, line of perpendicular line of sight and your unit. That's about 45 degrees. This one's a little less. That's maybe only, 30 degrees or something.
Okay.
So that's how we determined the direction of those lines. The direction of that first line, and then the other one just intersects with it. So there, now we have this because we determined that. And now we do the same thing on the other side. And the other side goes out not quite, this is a wonky cube, but it doesn't go out quite 2 units of measure. It goes out just under. Right, because we had the unit of measure, we measured 1, 2 out here. I'm going to bring that down just a little bit inside, which I can't do with my tripod there. Vertical. There. Doing okay?
Yeah.
Good. Now, again, we know our vanishing point is way off there somewhere. So we don't have that, but we know that this back line is at least parallel to this one. So if we do something at least parallel and then bring it in just slightly to be converging way out there. And then the same with this one. We know that this back line, in reality, parallel, 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 that this one has to be converging in that vanishing point over that way. The same as the. So I'm going to estimate it's off there. And I could draw this out, but now all I really have to consider is just that part of it. Same with, whoops, same with that. So now we have our cube. Yay! And
Yay.
that's the hardest part.
Still not right.
I tried to simplify it so it's understandable and most people can get this. Again, the most common problem is that people forget that these back lines, this back line here and this back line here, follow to the same vanishing point. And that's when we end up with Mr. Wonky like this. I mean, I've exaggerated it there, but this needs to be, So if something's off, that's usually what it is. Just double check. In reality, parallel, parallel, parallel. Good. We up to date? Kansas City. Now our next step, because we've done that, is finding those teal points where the objects behind are touching the cube. And again, we're estimating it looks about halfway on the side of this line here, this back line of the cube. Just around 1/3 of that. So see how I'm finding these? And again, you'll do just little tick marks. I'm making them very obvious at this point, and eventually you'll just kind of go, oh, it's going to be right there. And that's just about halfway up on that cube. So now I know where these back objects are in relationship to the cube. We also already know the height of each because we measured that before, and we know the width of each. So we have the relationship of the objects to each other, and we have the proportions basically already decided upon. So let's do this cylinder. I've got to move this because not the cylinder, the cone. If I know this is the cone, I'm going to estimate like in between those two, vertical up to the top. So this is kind of the center of the cone. See, because I know these, I'm ignoring everything else now. I'm looking at these two dots as the sides of that cone. I find the center of that and I draw a vertical line up that's going to be eventually invisible. I know that up here, remember how we kind of did the vases last week, the same distance on both sides? That's going to be my little ellipse at the top of that cone. And then if you want to use a straight edge or not. Again, as I'm drawing up in my easel, I eyeball this, I do it by looking. How is that? You have a cone in there?
Good,
Good?
good.
Jean, you're on mute, so. Is it good?
Yeah, my dog's, there's gonna be some activity here in a minute, so I was on mute.
Right, now the next thing is we know that the sphere is going to fit in here. We know it's supposed to come out to here. Wow, it looks like, I don't know how that's going to fit in my box. From there to there to there. But see how that helps me decide where it is? I just kind of, I know it's out to here because I measured that out. I measured up 3. It's not 3 boxes high, but it's at that point in my drawing. What's this one? Okay. So I know it needs to be tangential there, tangent there. It needs to come kind of over to here. So see, I'm just doing some curves to kind of make it fit into what I have measured ahead of time. And yeah, okay, that comes out pretty good. Turn my paper because my tripod's in the way. Ta-da! Now we know that our objects are in pretty much the right placement and the right sizes in relationship to everything else. If I look at it, I can see that my box is off a little bit. See how there's more top of the box showing than I have here, but that's pretty close. There it is. The last thing I do is, again, as I kind of measure, it's floating in space now, right? I mean, this is all a fancy drawing. And eventually, as I said, this will become almost second nature. You'll do a lot of it in your head. It looks very architectural at this point. I have a point here where the table touches in the photograph. I can see my placement's not quite right because it will show back here and it doesn't show in my photo. And then it comes off here. So something's not quite right. That's all right. There's my table, goes off to a corner. And then just kind of estimate this angle. It's coming out at me. So this is nice. It shows us all our measurement lines. But when you're doing a nice artistic drawing, of course, you won't have all of that showing. This gives you the thinking process behind where you're going with things. Would you like to show me? And then I'll maybe do a little something to show you what you can practice on during the week. You can either email me drawings you've done, I can put them on the Padlet, or you can put them up on the Padlet. That way it's just, you can see, we can talk about others and work and stuff. Very nice, very nice. Your cone seems
my-
like it got a little high. You went above that top line, that top measure.
Yeah, but it didn't look right. I erased it because it looked too, compared to my my
Sphere.
round shape. Yeah, my
Yeah.
sphere, it was too
Yeah.
low.
And that's, did we just know that something's a little off and that, but
Yeah.
that's good.
I can fix it. Yeah, the sphere also doesn't look great.
Well, your sphere, can you hold that back up again? As I'm looking at it,
Not really a circle.
the top of it is not, you've gone beyond the third.
Okay,
Can you see my paper stack again? Sorry. Waiting.
Yeah.
Your sphere's gone up to here.
got
That's
it.
Making it too big. It should be at that. 1,
Okay,
2, 3, and that's all. It just
Okay.
got a little big. Very
Okay.
nice. Very, very nice though, Donna. Otherwise, I think that's wonderful. You feeling good? Has a nice 3-dimensional feeling to it, like it's solid.
Yeah, once we added in the table lines, I was like, oh, wow,
Ta-da!
it's a picture.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Jean, how about you? Ah, excellent.
perfect.
Excellent. And look how your measurement lines are very light, so they're almost not there, and eventually they'll get it lighter and lighter. Very good. Yes, I'm excited. I get excited that you got it. Very nice.
Here,
Thank you. Wow. All right. I don't have this picture on my iPad. I wanted to just so you have, we'll got maybe a few more minutes. I wanted to look at what things you can practice maybe this week. We tried that. Why is that blue? Oh, there it is. Here, again, what would you use for the unit of measure? There's no cube in front, right? So I would probably choose one of these objects. I'd probably start with this plum. And I'm sorry, I can't show you that at the same time that I'm drawing on it. But Pam, if you go back to my drawing, oh, you can't because I'm on screen share. It's my fault. Back to my, yeah, thank you. So you have this. So let me just share, like, for instance, I would say, okay, I'm going to start with this plum that's in the middle. Now this becomes my unit of measure. See how that is? The height of that little plum that we were just looking at becomes my unit of measure. I can look over. Something goes down a little below that. And I'm estimating 1, 2, 3 for the height. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, about 1, 2, 3. And then I would measure this way, like 1, 2, 3 for that way. Do you see what I'm doing though? So I'm still using that as kind of my unit of measure. And then I realize the object below it sits down a little further, touches right about there. It's a little bit that way. So there's that next, whatever that is, apple, I guess. Kind of sits in that. It's just a sphere, so it kind of sits within those measurements. Again, this is very quick. Over here, there's a little distance to a lemon. It sits at the same height there. It's a little bit bigger. So that would be my lemon. Here, if I touch here and here and there, once I have those down, that will give me that candle height and width. All right, and I know it's a cylinder, as we talked earlier, so it's going to have a curved base, even though I hardly see any of it. And then there's the top of it there, and it comes up to that candle. And then there's another one that touches here and here. See how I'm finding the apple touches there and there, and it's going to fit in about too big, a little smaller here. So that's very quickly, but that's just the approach you would use to start doing the next sketch, let me show you that again. See,
Mm-hmm.
and the same with these. This one's tricky because maybe you just use this sphere of the vase as your measurement. You can see the vase is about 2 high. If this is your sphere here.
Mhm.
And the measure, and then that, and then the flower is actually a cone, but you can't see the back side of the cone.
Hmm.
Let me
Wow.
do one of that really quickly too. So here's the sphere, the base of the vase. The height of the vase is about there. And then the flower is almost another. I'm going to run into my other drawing, I apologize. And I'll find the center of that as we did with the vases last week.
Hmm.
Check the
Mhm.
angle of this. Face
Hmm.
comes down. This way. The flower I decided is this high, but it's off to the side. Yep, comes out about there. There's the width of that. I think the flower is about that's almost the same width wide. And it
Mhm.
would be a cone, but we can't see the back of that cone. It's down in
Hmm.
behind it here. But that also, notice how the center of the flower is off center a little bit.
Mhm.
So this is really quick. But by finding that, you would see that, you know, it would change the shape of those.
Wow. Wow, very cool.
And you can kind of proceed with that with the other drawings and try them out. Do
Okay.
stick just to, you know, these, maybe for this week, if you try it. I've given you some variety. And again, I turn them black and white so you're not distracted by the color. You try to simplify
Okay.
those forms as much as possible.
Okay.
And next week we'll do some more of that, and we'll talk about houses. This is the area where I'd like to spend a little more time. What would we use here? I would start with this orange because the spoon is really at an angle. That's kind of tricky. This one, the apple becomes your unit of measure. The height of this apple becomes your unit of measure.
Hmm.
So, and you got 2 cubes here. But again, just one thing at a time. Consider that line,
Mhm.
the line of sight that's perpendicular. I don't know what that does that. And then how those angles go off.
So you get really good at eyeballing your
Yes, we're
measurement.
training our eye and our hand to coordinate for these things. And the more you practice, as you practice very carefully at the beginning, the
Mhm.
easier it becomes later on.
Okay.
I basically eyeball everything now. Every now and then you'll see an artist double checking. Now, if you do this measurement thing in life, you know, have you seen artists doing this where they stand off? Your elbow needs to stay locked, because if you do a measurement,
Mm.
hold the top of the pencil. Wait, let me go back to me, Pam, if I could. Thanks. So if you're holding, where am I? The pencil out. Saying I was going to measure that picture behind me. See, I touch the top of the pencil to the
Mhm.
corner, and then I bring my thumb down. This is funny because it's all backwards to where that back corner is. So I'm using my thumb as like a measurement on that.
Mhm.
It's that long, but I need to keep my elbow locked, because when I go to compare that with what's happening over here,
Oh, yeah.
if I bend my elbow, it's not going to be the same measurement. It changes the measurement because I'm measuring with my eye. So that's why you have to keep it locked.
Okay.
That's why you see artists doing that. So that's about the only time I will double
Okay.
check things.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's a lot in one quick thing. Pam will get that video out. I will try to edit these. I'm off this afternoon to help my mom, but I'll try to edit and get these photos organized so you can get to them quickly.
when you say that video out, you just mean the recording of the class today?
The recording of the class, yes.
Okay, good. Did I miss something?
Yeah.
No, just the recording of the class, but I'd like to augment it with those images I was showing where I showed the measurements. I know I'm busy this afternoon. Tomorrow I'm heading out to Monhegan Island for the day. So,
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah, so you'll get, so I'll send that, go ahead and send the video, and then we'll send another email when you get to the other things you want to send them.
And you have the attachments you need now for the next 2 weeks. So I'm not concerned about that unless by the last week we get to do stuff. I'll try to get some shading in as well. But you ladies, you're doing awesome. Those are impressive drawings. I'm very pleased. I'm very pleased.
I don't know. I don't think Jean's a beginner.
I get that feeling.
I keep ending up in classes with great artists, but that's okay.
You're doing
Inspiring.
wonderfully. I love it. Great.
Donna, please try not to discount your own talent, seriously.
Yes.
You are
Okay.
literally, this is what I said, this is the second or third time we've offered this, and you're absolutely doing just wonderfully, so.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks,
keep
Pam.
that in mind, Seriously. Yeah, I'm just gonna stop there. I'm not gonna talk about any other artists.
Okay, yeah,
Just know
yeah.
that you're doing well.
You're good, you're good. Okay.
Doing very well. Anyway, any questions, anything, email me. Anybody who's watching the video as well. If you have a question, email me. Again, we covered a lot, but I hope I did it methodically so it will make sense to you and you can actually
Mhm.
employ this in your
Yes.
drawing.
And I am gonna practice
Yes.
Yay.
before next week.
Yeah. I love you get your hair all done too, Donna. It looks so nice. I
I
just,
know.
No, it's just, I don't do anything to it.
oh, stop it. It's beautiful.
I wake up with makeup on and everything.
Oh.
Just kidding.
I've actually considered, you know how you can tattoo eyeliner on?
Uh-huh.
Like, I don't
Mhm.
want a needle that close to my eye.
Yeah, it's a little creepy. Yeah.
It is, it is.
Yeah.
Well,
All
great.
right, well, thank you
Everyone have
very
a
much.
great week.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Great
Yes.
lesson.
Thank you,
Enjoyed it.
ladies. Thanks for showing up. I mean, even, I guess, I don't think it can get too much smaller, but hopefully next time we'll have a few more.
Yeah, Jean, you better come next week.
I'll be here I might have a conflict next week, but I'll probably be here.
We will
I'll figure it out.
There's always the
So-
video, and that's the nice thing. So
We'll make it
Yeah.
work no matter what, even if Terry Lynn's just teaching me.
No, I'll be there. I'll be here.
Good, all right. All
Okay,
right.
all right, thank you.
bye. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.